We finished the chapter, we finished this Ois Yud Zayin. Let's do the Kitzur, which is the synopsis of the entire Ois. And then we'll do the review. Before that, we'll just do this piece in Tanya that's related to the last part, the shield. So the Kitzur is Yuvayir, that this Ois explains, Mi shuhu eved l'tavosei, a person who's a slave to his desires, meaning to say, sort of addicted to it, not addicted in a clinical sense, but in a spiritual sense. In that case, his nefesh habahamis yusar b'dvarim can be rebuked with words. Words won't help. And for that, what's necessary to use is a stick, a club. And just like the klovim, after they're beaten, like the Rishoyim, after they're beaten, they say Shira. Kach kilusei shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the praise of Hashem, oilim apir Rishoyim begehenim. So after they go through their punishment, they are able to recognize Hashem and they praise Hashem. And what does it mean to beat the nefesh habahamis with a stick? L'hakahi, what is this beating? Hargoza. To me, this ala nefesh habahamis, to sort of anger, release your anger against the nefesh habahamis, ala Hashem esave taivis heter, that he indulges even in permissible things, but in a way that indulges more than necessary. And we explained, of course, before what all that means to get angry. Also came to my mind another example, by the way, of what would it mean to use the stick, and then you can reason with the nefesh habahamis. There's a story in the Medrash, which on the surface is a pretty shocking story, that one of the sages, I'm trying to remember if it was Rabbi Elazar, one of the sages met a person, and what did he say to the person? I never saw such an ugly person in my life. And he was furious. And he was very upset, and he was harassing him. And he said to him, well, if that's the case, then go to the man, not the man, go to the one that formed me, that created me, and complain to him. Tell him that his job was a bad job. Meaning, okay, so you're basically saying something against Hashem. He's the one who made me. And then it says that he didn't let him alone. He kept following him till he came to his community. And he told the people, this is your sage. How could you consider him as a Rav? Look what he did. Look how he speaks. A long story. And eventually he asked him for forgiveness. And eventually things turned around, everything straightened out. So on the surface, it's a shocking story. We know how in Torah this is something which is totally unacceptable, to say a harsh word to another person, and especially something so offensive, to tell somebody, I've never seen anybody so ugly like you. So the Rebbe gave an explanation that we're not talking about ugliness, bekashness. This was unfortunately a person that was in a very bad place, baruchness. And a bad place means that he had absolutely no maila, no quality whatsoever. Obviously, it means that in every area of Yiddishkeit, in every area of what he was supposed to be doing, everything was bad. And therefore, he said to him, I never saw a person so ugly as you, meaning to say that you're lacking in everything that has to do with spirituality and Yiddishkeit. What did he say? He said, well, if that's the case, go to the one that created me. So, referring to Tanya, in Tanya it says that, why does the Mishnah use the term, having a Talmid shel Aaron, you should always be like a student of Aaron. What did Aaron do? Ohev Shalom, he loved peace. Reid of Shalom, then it says, Ohev Sabriers, he loved creations. What kind of word is creations? To say he loved people. In Hebrew, it would be Anoshim, it would be Bnei Adam, Bnei Yisrael. What do you mean, he creations? And the Alter Rebbe says something very powerful. He loved such people that had absolutely no mila whatsoever, totally empty, completely empty, bankrupt spiritually. The only quality they have, that they're creations of Hashem. And if they are creations of Hashem, they have to have Hashem's energy in them, invested in them. And if you recognize that, from that you can start rebuilding and becoming a person the way you're supposed to. That's what happened here. When he told him that you have no quality whatsoever, you're such an ugly person, what did it make him think? But I have one quality, I am created by Hashem. In other words, he made him tap into, and that's what he wanted. He wanted him to tap into to the fact that even you, that you're totally on empty, you have something in you that's from Hashem. And from there, he was able to sort of rebuild, and he became a moksha. So basically, the point is that he said something so drastic that it shook him up. And as a result of that, he was like, when a person is hit so hard, he was desperately looking for something that he could attribute to himself as a minor. And what did he say? Hashem created me. Once he tapped into that, from there he was able to go further. So this is the same idea. And then he finishes cherev and the difference between cherev and a club, that the club is mainly to discipline a person, not to indulge more than you have to in permissible things. Because we know Chassidus talks a lot about not indulging. Many people make a mistake, especially in our generation, to not allow themselves to have any kind of pleasure from food or anything else. That's a very high level. But what we can all do is not indulge. Having money, having a nice home, having nice clothing, having decent food is part of our survival. But to indulge in these things, that this becomes sort of my primary concern in life. And in fact, on account of this, I compromise in terms of Torah and mitzvahs and Yiddishkeit, that's when it's wrong. But for this, we need the makel to discipline the Nefesh Habahamis not to indulge in taivas that are permissible. Cherev, the sword or the spear, is lahachris taivas isur. That's in order to cut away those things that are prohibited. That has to be destroyed completely. You can't transform that. That has to be eliminated. And the third thing is tris. Tris is the shield. And that's the talis and the tefillin. Shemeginim echitzenim. They protect us from the arrows and the rocks that the chitzenim are throwing at us, spiritually speaking. So he brought down what it says in Tanya, that we find that dafka when a person's davening is when it happens. So I thought it would be a good idea to do that little piece in Tanya. Everyone has a copy? No? I was wondering why there's one left. Okay, exactly. Page 377. As you see on top, it's chapter 28 in Tanya. This chapter is talking about what a person could say to himself if he finds himself depressed and down. And here he's talking about a person that feels depressed and down because he doesn't daven properly. In the middle of davening, all sorts of negative thoughts come to his mind that are disturbing him, and he feels very bad about himself. So let's start from the middle of the page where it says, Afal Pikein, nevertheless, on page 377. Afal Pikein, this is talking about the person who is upset that he has these negative thoughts. Al Yipel Libe Bekirbe, he shouldn't feel dejected. Lies Mize Otzev Nivze B'Shas Aveda, to feel down while he's davening, because the davening tzarchi is b'simcha rabba. When a person davens, you're standing and davening before Hashem, has to be not just simcha, but simcha rabba, great joy. Because we know that Hashem and the Shekhinah will only be in a place of simcha. Yep.
Thank you. I'm wondering, like, about the Ludbisicha. Sometimes, you have like thoughts and it would like study, but I'm like when I'm davening and I have no kavanah. Should I like continue or like better to stop and like better to pray the daven like mincha or something?
So, first of all, we have a mitzvah to daven, so we have to do it. It's like any other mitzvah. Let's say a person's lighting candles and they don't have no kavanah. Not having kavanah is definitely something that's missing, but the mitzvah is the action. Action is what counts more than anything else. And the same thing with davening. It's true. It says that davening without kavanah is like a body without a neshama. But still, when it comes to mitzvahs, the main thing is action. In fact, imagine a person that is full of kavanah. They understand Hashem and they love Hashem and their heart is on fire, but they don't actually do the mitzvah. Compare that to another person that has no kavanah, dry, technical, but he does the mitzvah. Who is in a better place? So the answer is not even a question. The one who actually does the mitzvah, he fulfilled what Hashem told him to do. So first of all, the reason is because that's what Hashem asked me to do. It doesn't matter what I'm feeling or not feeling. And second of all, doing the mitzvah itself accomplishes something that needs to be accomplished. It's like saying, imagine a person turns on the switch without kavanah. I didn't mean to. It's Shabbos, but I moved my elbow in a certain direction and the switch went on. So because I had no kavanah, the switch still was moved up, so the light goes on. When you do mitzvahs, the light goes on. I'm talking about a spiritual light. Whether I have kavanah or not, that still happens.
You just with your phone and with yourself and like musicians.
No, it happens to everyone.
Yeah, welcome to the club. Yeah. If you belong to the human race, then it might happen to you. So that's what we need to learn what the Alter Rebbe says here. How can I be b'simcha when I'm trying to daven and everything else is coming into my head except for the words of davening? So the Alter Rebbe says, Ela adrabah, yischazik v'yosef, yosef emetz. A person should strengthen himself, intensify his determination to have more kavanah and to be b'simcha, not to allow himself to be upset. And how can he be b'simcha? When he realizes that if he has negative thoughts, it's coming from the klipa shebachol hasmolim, which is the left part of his heart. And this klipa, which is the negative energy, this klipa is constantly fighting a war. If this would be a tzaddik gomer, tzaddik she'ena gomer, the klipa is inactive, doesn't do anything. Tzaddik gomer doesn't even have klipa. Tzaddik she'ena gomer, the klipa is totally inactive. By a beinoni, the klipa is there, tries to disturb. Again, by the way, the Alter Rebbe is talking about a beinoni. Imagine a person who never violates anything in Torah, not in thought, not in speech, not in action. And this person is also having disturbing thoughts in the middle of davening. Which, by the way, how would you reconcile that? Here we say that a beinoni is perfect in thought, speech, and action. And here we say he's having disturbing thoughts in davening. What? Right, so there's two kinds of thoughts. There are certain thoughts that come to a person on their own, involuntary, they just come to me. That happens to a beinoni as well. But as soon as he's aware that there's a negative thought, he is fully in control to stop it and not allow himself to continue to think. But the initial thought to come to the person's mind, even a beinoni has that. So the beinoni says to himself, this is not me. This is the klipa in me that's trying to disturb me. Let's turn the page to 378. And it's known, when two people are fighting, two people are wrestling, When one of them is gaining the upper hand on the other, so the other person is fighting much stronger to overcome him. In other words, normally when they're fighting, he's not putting in so much effort, but he feels threatened that the other one is overpowering him, he fights much stronger. So when the nefesh olekis is putting in so much effort to daven, to be closer to Hashem, so the klipa feels that it's being overpowered. HaKlipa misgaberes connecta, so the klipa gets even stronger. The valvala ulapila b'machshava zara shalom. So look at the bottom now, and not the way most people make a mistake. What's the mistake? Shetoyim, they make a mistake and they think that the fact that I'm having these thoughts, this proves she'ein tefillas and klum, that my davening is worthless. If I was davening good, how would I get these thoughts? Ilu ispalu koroi v'nochin. If I would be davening properly, lo hoya neifle machshava zaras. So the fact that I'm giving these thoughts is a clear indication that my davening is worthless. Page 379. It would be true if a person would have only one nefesh. It's the same soul that davens, and the same soul that is thinking negative thoughts or disturbing thoughts. Then it would mean I'm not davening properly because I'm thinking about two things at the same time. But the truth is, there are two nefashos, there are two souls, and these two souls are constantly in conflict with each other. Each one of the souls wants to control the person, and they wants that the mayach, the mind, should be filled with it. The nefesh elokis wants the mind to be filled with godly thoughts, and the nefesh bahamis. So whenever a person has thoughts, any thought that's related to Torah or something spiritual, that's the nefesh elokis. Any thought of worldly things, not necessarily averis. If it's not godly, it's worldly things, it's from the nefesh bahamis. Page 380. But the nefesh elokis is malubish in the nefesh bahamis, so it feels like it's all one thing because one is in the other, invested in the other, but it's really two souls. Who commercial, a person should compare this in his mind, like someone is davening, bikavana, and there is a wicked person, a non-Jew standing right opposite him, and he talks to him, not because he wants to talk to him, but with the intention, to confuse him, not to let him concentrate on davening. What would be the advice to such a person? Don't answer him. Don't answer him in this way or that way. Just ignore him. Pretend that you don't even hear him. By doing that, you'll fulfill what it says in the pasuk in Mishlei. Don't answer a fool according to his foolishness, because if you do, you'll become like him. Don't lower yourself to even answer him. And that's the way we should do the same. Don't even answer your negative thoughts. So basically, this is what it's saying here. This is what I have to do. But in order to prevent this from happening and to have more strength to give me the strength to push off and reject these negative thoughts, that's the shield, the talus and the tefillin. Okay, so now we'll go to the terms and the questions. So first we'll do the terms. And the terms are on page 20. So we'll take a few minutes. I'll give you a few minutes, 2-3 minutes to try to write down the answer to the 6, 7 to 8. There's 8 terms here. Even though one of them, number 4, I'm not sure what it's doing here, but it must be here if I put it there. I'll look for it. Let's do this together now. So number one, in Yisrael Zayin, La'elam Yargiz Adam Yetzatei Yitzahara. What does that mean? Okay, what else could you say about it? That's one explanation. Right. This phrase is actually in Gemara that a person should anger and have rage against his Yetzirah. That's what the Gemara says. Number two, Chakika mibachutz.
Outside affects things.
But what does it mean?
Even if it's outside of you, like when you're davening, it's not really you. That's how it meant, no?
Not that. What you're saying is right, but that's not what this term means. To carve out from the outside. Does it sound familiar? I'm getting hungry. Okay. To carve out from the outside means the way to make a piece of wood, a keli, first you have to carve it out of the block of wood, and then you carve it in to make it a keli. So first the Yitzhahara and the Shabbat has to be carved out from the outside, means something external, just to shake him up. And then you could reason with him, explain things to him. When I say him, I mean my own Nefesh Amis, and he becomes a vessel to hear what I have to say about godliness. Number three, Ramach Tevin de Kriya Shema.
248 words.
Right? It means 248 words of Shema. In Shema, there are 248 words, and Ramach are the same letters that spelled Romach, which means a spear. That was the basis that Kriya Shema is like a spear. Before he explained it's like a sword. Here he's talking about a spear. Number four, I think we sort of skipped it when I was doing the Mimer Insides. Let me point out to you where it is. I myself was looking for it now. So look at page 6. It's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 lines from the bottom. The first word underlined, it's underlined actually, the Zamer Aritzim, you see it underlined, the Zamer Aritzim. Is it underlined in your Mimer?
Yes.
So he says that Chilas Aveda, the first step in Aveda and self-refinement is the Zamer Aritzim or B'Psuki de Zimra. The davening has different parts to it. The first part, up until Yishtabach, is called Psuki de Zimra, which means psukim, verses of song. If you look at the Siddur, on top of the page, it says Psuki de Zimra. Then comes the brachas of the Shema, then the Shema, the Shmon Esrei. So there's another deeper interpretation to the word Psuki de Zimra, and that is, there's a pasuk where it says, the Zamer Aritzim, to cut away the weeds. In a garden, there are good things that grow, and there are weeds that grow. And the weeds you have to cut away because it does damage to the good things that are growing. Spiritually, Psuki de Zimra, by saying these psukim and thinking about the greatness of Hashem, what we're accomplishing is we're cutting away the weeds spiritually that are within us. So that is the inyan of the sword and the spear, cutting away. Okay, back to page 20. Number 5 and 6, what is the difference between Taivas Heter and Taivas Isur? Right, so Taivas Heter, I mean, the word Taiva means desires or lusts. Heter means permissible, and Isur means it's not permissible. And when you talk about those that are permissible, it mainly means when a person indulges, becomes very addicted to things that are permissible. And in other words, even things that are permissible should be with a certain limit. There's a quote from the Alter Rebbe, and the Chassidim would say this is one of the first things they used to learn, was, the Alter Rebbe said in Yiddish, I'll first say it in Yiddish and then I'll explain it. Alter Rebbe said, he used to speak with a niggin, with a certain tune. Is the das was man tarnish, tarmendig nicht. Das was man mag, darf man nicht. Which means that which is not permissible is not permissible. Nothing to talk about. That which is permissible, you don't have to do. Whatever you're not allowed to do, you're not allowed to do. What you're allowed to do, you don't have to do. Rotem, you're on the boat this morning. Good. We should do things that have purpose and meaning and lead to something positive. Again, this doesn't mean that a person shouldn't allow himself to have any kind of pleasure in life, because this is not a level that we're at. And unfortunately, people who try to do that only are hurting themselves, and they become depressed and they become down, and it does more damage than good. For us, it means not to indulge. You know, for a person to have a nice home, that's okay. But to spend $10 million for a nice home, that's a little bit going overboard. The same thing is with clothing, with other things. To have things that are pleasant is fine, but to go overboard, and what's overboard, that's another discussion. But the one form of overboard is when it actually interferes with things in Yiddishkeit. But in general, it means that I indulge and I become almost like addicted. I can't live without it. And that means that it's not a good thing. Number 7, Ra de Noiga. What does that mean? Right, we know that in the person, the Nefesh Bahamas is made up of klipas noga. But there are things that come from the Nefesh Bahamas that comes from the good part of the noga, means it's a mixture of good and bad. When a person is attracted to things that are negative, that comes from the ra of his klipas noga. What? Yeah. Number 8. Shas Tzlusa, Shas Krova. Very good. The time of davening is a time of war. Maybe that's why some people are afraid to daven. It's the war with the Nefesh Bahamas. So now we'll go to page 25, which is going to be pretty much covering the same. But here it's in question answer form. Let's see. How would you write as an answer? When I say an answer, it's very important to write it brief, because then it's sharp and clear. Why is the only remedy for the Rishayim a club? What's the reason? Why? The only way to get them is with a stick. Why? What? Right, because there's nobody home. A Russian is a person that's so emotionally involved and so emotionally addicted to his taivas, to his lusts and desires, that you can't reason with him. He's not a keli to hear any kind of reason or logic. So first you have to use the stick to get him to just open up, and then you can reason with him. Well, number 2, we just explained that. Number 3 is the same thing again. The beating of the Nefesh Bahamas is only a preparation to transform it. How does this happen? So we said that when you beating Nefesh Bahamas means to use harsh language, so to speak, to recognize how low it is and how negative it is, and that makes Nefesh Bahamas sort of back off and stop and listen to what the Nefesh Elokis has to say. Number 4, what is the difference between the club and the spear?
That's not very clear.
Not clear.
Oh, no, the club and the spear.
So what's the difference? What I said wasn't clear was the difference between the spear and the sword, right? But the club and the spear, the difference is the club is not to kill someone, just to discipline. The spear is made to kill an enemy. Spiritually, the club is used for permissible taivas, to sort of make it more regulated, make it more limited, make it more in a way that is not indulging. And the spear is used for things that are averas, klipa, things that are violating Torah, that I have to get rid of completely. So what is a shield spiritually? We just explained, there's no point in going it over again, but I would write down here, the shield is the talus and the tefillin that protect us spiritually from thoughts that are disturbing during davening. And number 6, why do negative thoughts come to mind during davening? It's dafka because of this reason that I'm davening. So the Nefesh Bahamis, the Klippa, is trying to stop me, dafka because I am. In other words, the fact that I'm getting these negative thoughts, you should take it as a compliment. Wow, it must be davening great. The more negative thoughts you had, the more compliments you get. They used to say that if somebody is doing something, making a project, and you don't encounter any difficulty, then you better rethink. Maybe something's wrong with what I'm doing. Because anything good you try to do, the Klippa always tries to stop us. And the greater it is what I'm doing, the more important it is, the more significant it is, the more effort the Klippa will invest in stopping me. I don't know if this came up before in one of the classes, but it's known that every person has a shlichus. We're all here for a general shlichus, learn Torah, do mitzvahs, and so on and so forth. And we all have the same Shabbos, the same Kashrus, the same Pesach, Shavuos, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, davening, tefillin, mezuzah, all the same. But then every person is unique, that Hashem sent us in this world for very specific shlichus, which is one of the mitzvahs, one of the areas of Torah mitzvahs, and I'm specifically here to sort of excel in that area. Now, of course, it would be amazing if a baby is born, and on your wrist there would be a tag. It would say your shlichus is, and you know exactly what to do. But it doesn't happen. So how do I know what my shlichus is?
Researching.
You have to research. So generally speaking, there's 2 things to research. One is to see what are the gifts that Hashem gave me. Hashem gave me a certain gift, certain talent. It's very likely that that's my shlichus, to use this talent to serve him. The other thing is the exact opposite. If a person finds that there's certain inyanim in Yiddishkeit, that, okay, a little bit of a struggle, but I get to do it, and there's something in Torah or mitzvahs that for some reason or other, I find this so much more difficult than anything else. Why is this harder than other things? With other things, I'm able to get in control. I'm able to do what I have to. With this, it gets in my way, and I can't. So what is it about this particular area? For one person, it's this mitzvah. Another person, it's Shabbos. Another person, it's Tznius. Another person, it's Kashrus. Everyone has their little area where they find this is more difficult than anything else. So it's very likely that the reason could be that this is the reason why my neshama came down to this world. So therefore, this inyan of Yiddishkeit is the most important thing for me personally. For another person, it's not, but for me, this is the most important reason that I came to this world. So dafka that, the Yetzer Hara will try to get in my way. And the Yetzer Hara will try to stop me. Why? Because it's so much more important. Like think of military strategy. When 2 countries are at war, what does the country try to destroy first? Whatever is more, you work with strategy. In other words, they'll cut off the radar. They'll do things that are more effective. They won't just kill a soldier. They'll try to stop things that these things will destabilize the whole army. Whether it's, like I said, cutting on the radar or killing the general, something which is more general, because it's so much more important, they'll make more effort. Rosh Hashanah once said, when a person sees that my Yetzer Hara is fighting specifically against one thing, it's like an enemy at war. When you see the enemy is trying to destroy something, you don't know what's so important about it, but if the enemy is trying to destroy it, there must be something very significant, and therefore you try to protect it more than anything else. So the same thing with davening, and the same thing is now with Mashiach. Now when people ask, and same thing was in Mitzrayim, when Yidden were about to go out of Mitzrayim, the worst things happened. They were working harder and they were being tortured more than before. And the same thing is now. We see things now happening that are in some ways darker than before, certain things. And that seems to be discouraging, as if, I guess, we're not in the right track. And Aaron says, no. And by the way, this is the Kliyakar says this in Chumash, that because the Yidden were about to go out of Mitzrayim, so the power of impurity felt that its end is coming. So this was their last fight for survival, and they fought with all their might. How did it spell out that Paro made the Yidden work even harder than before? And that's what happens to us in davening. So next time you have a big, big challenge in life, take it as a compliment. Obviously, you must be doing good things. Don't ask for it, but if it happens, Bakara.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.